Ah, some slugs just want to watch the world burn, but at least they make it like a pretty burn. I mean, look at this. Look at all the little fires. Fires is nice. I like fires. I mean, fires are cool. You ever been to the heart of a star? That's a lot of fire. Fire, 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 fire everywhere. Day fire. Anyway, hey, how are you guys doing today? Hopefully you're doing absolutely peachy keen, fantastic, even maybe wonderful. I am your noble lady and cat who will talk to you today about many spiritual matters. And by many spiritual matters, I mostly mean I will babble about a particular spiritual matter because it is something that is kind of interesting to me. It's been on my mind. Recently, I watched a film called Ikiru. I think it's how you say it. But it's basically about this Japanese man who finds out he's dying and then, like, kind of questioning like the value of his life and things like that. And it was a very good film. I liked it a lot. It's by Akira Kurosawa. Um, the guy who did all those different samurai films you might be used to or might know and stuff like that. But I'd highly recommend it as long as you don't mind reading subtitles and things like that. But one of the things I do find interesting is that we kind of tend to live our lives as if we have, infinite time. We have infinite time to brandy about and hello, your tree. And, just run around and act like, we're never going to die and things like that. Or that, nothing will ever happen. And sometimes it's hard not to get swept away in life, too. I understand that. You had dreams and aspirations in a certain way, and then maybe something happened and those dreams and aspirations kind of changed. Maybe you're just too used to what part of your life you're in, etc. But I would say that there's a couple of things that I find very interesting. First off, it's never too late to commit to spiritual growth. It is never too late to commit to spiritual growth. At any time in your life, heck, even if you're like 90 years old and you think you ain't got that much time left on this earth, at least in uh, one form or another, there's always time to commit yourself to spirituality and to commit yourself to growth. And, not just spiritual growth, but also just growth as a person in general. There's always time to dedicate yourself back to God. And even a little bit of sincere love can take you a long way. And that's something that a lot of people don't get. You see, a lot of people, I don't want to hit you because you're too close to the Eagles. I might accidentally hit one of those. A lot of people kind of do this thing where basically they'll get into spiritual practice or they'll get into some kind of method of self-improvement. They'll go through and they'll be doing their stuff. And sometimes what will happen is, like, for instance, people will meditate every day in a row for like a month, maybe 2 months or something like that. And then just like one little slip up, they miss like one day, and the next thing you know, they just kind of stop meditating because they say, oh, well, I messed up this chain, I messed up the cycle. I can't continue. It's kind of an interesting behavior to me because I'm like, well, wouldn't you think that if it was something that was bringing joy to your life, you would continue to do it? But humans are silly. They do all kinds of different silly things, often without really thinking about why they're doing those silly things or what those silly things can cost them. Or how, like, not taking care of yourself can be, something that a lot of people end up kind of doing. Just because they kind of forget to, or they, like, get busy and they decide that, ooh, I always love it when it rains. They decide that it's just kind of worth giving up. But there's always time to say a little bit of a prayer, to do a little bit of meditation. And that's another thing. You don't have to start grand. Some people, and I've seen this kind of backfire as well, some people, they get even just a little bit of spirituality in them. Next thing you know, they're practicing all of it. They're doing everything. Maybe somebody just converted to a new religion. Maybe somebody found a reason to take their religion seriously. Maybe they were in a moment of crisis. All kinds of different stuff can prompt people to do this. But suddenly they'll go from 0 to 100, and that's a different kind of bad. Because what you should always be trying to do is think about, like, you want sustainable growth. You don't want short-term growth. I can't tell you the amount of times that I've been witness to folks who will go out of their way. Oh, that was weird. Who will go out of their way to suddenly change a bunch of parts of themselves, but they don't do it in a sustainable way. It's kind of like when somebody runs to the gym, and rather than, doing like something nice and maybe not like super light, but something that will get them going, but not like, crush them, so that they don't like, completely and totally give up on the idea of like working out, which is also something I've seen on more than one occasion. That's one's kind of always funny. Heck, that's something the cat's done, because I'll go to a gym and I'll be like, I'm a whitey. Well, I used to, not so much these days. Ooh, this takes you up real far. Uh-oh. Oh, okay, that doesn't kill you. So that's just for fun. Well, maybe not just for fun. Okay, wait, let's... hold on, because I want to stay down here. I want to do that again, though, in a minute. It's fun. But... you gotta think... what am I actually capable of continuing to do? And you gotta also think that it's not pointless. It's kind of interesting to me, because... people will also often get discouraged because... they'll go hardcore parkour on something, on some process that they've been told is probably not going to yield amazing results immediately, but it will yield results, and then if they continue to practice, it will yield greater results over time. But then what happens? Well, when it doesn't yield results immediately, a lot of people kind of give up. Part of the reason that monasteries and things like that are such good things for especially new spiritual aspirants to go to is that they really help set your mind. When you're surrounded by spirituality, when you're surrounded in the community, it's much more difficult to get away from like these little goals. And hey, excuse me, sir, do you have green rock? I want green rock. Thank you. That's part of what makes a monastery a great place. For, especially people who are new and interested in spirituality. Ooh, what's in here? Ooh. That's a good thing to get. But also, like I said, remember that it's also okay to be discouraged a little bit. Like, people will go into these communities, or they'll go into like spiritual communities, and like everyone will seem like they're doing, especially if they're brand new to it, they'll go into these and it's like, it seems like everybody's doing so much better than me. It seems like they're so much further along. I don't know if I'll ever be able to get there. Oh man, they do these things so well. And people can be very self-critical of these sorts of things. There's a lot of sneaky places in here. But look, tree. Tree's good. Well, this tree is a giant cosmic parasite thing, but most trees good. That was not even remotely... Actually, that didn't look like it was close, but maybe it was. Oh, there's more behind me, that's why. Come back here. Come back here. Oh, you're lucky I have a big shield that can block everything. Actually, no, wait, you're not lucky. Never mind. But, and this is all stuff to think about. And another thing is, different people have different ways that they relate to spirituality. For some people, just sitting and doing a lot of meditation just isn't really going to do as much for them as maybe just like a little bit of loving devotion of just like, ow, of doing like a little bit of loving devotion or like in a community setting. And then you also have folks like me who really just aren't very big on community settings and get a lot more out of like private worship. Hey, you want to explode? Oh, never mind. Okay, I'm sorry. I'll leave you be. And like I've always gotten way more out of practicing by myself, studying scripture and meditating by myself and praying by myself. Ow. It's a good thing I have so much health. It is fun to make them explode, though. I'm starting them in their new part of life as small ball. And this is stuff that is all kind of difficult to figure out, and it can be very overwhelming. But what we should all remember is that we should go at our own pace. Oops. We should go at our own pace. We should try to do things that are sustainable. And if we have periods where we're like kind of doing a lot more spiritual stuff and it's not super sustainable, that's also okay. And we can learn things about ourselves in these periods, but we should know that, that's not like that's not the way most people are going to practice and grow. Most people are going to do slow growth over time. They're probably going to grow in communities. They're probably going to grow in like certain ways. And sometimes it really is a matter of, finding the right community and things like that. Now, I do think there is also something important to mention here where, like, if you say that you're looking for a guru and you spend 20 years and you haven't found a guru, maybe that's more of a you thing. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't look for a good guru, and that if, like, gurus make you uncomfortable or you don't understand something, that you shouldn't ask questions. But, oh, that's right, it's this guy. I kind of thought even with my shield that would do more damage. Bonk. I like your sword. Thrilling combat. Man, this shield is good. Nope. Well, it's good while I have stamina. There we go. Thank you, sir, for your sacrifice. To me. Oh boy. But yeah, a lot, and there's a lot of little things to consider. But what I would honestly suggest, if you want to start a spiritual development, is that you just start. That's another thing that I think people do, but people do this for all kinds of things, not just spiritual development. People will talk about how much they want to grow in a certain way, or they want to talk about how much they want to change things, but then what happens? It's tightly blocked shut. I don't actually remember how to open this. I'm sure there's a way, though. I'll figure it out and come back. Boop. Actually, yeah, it would probably be easier just to go back straight to the entrance. Oh, I can jump on the thing. I love jumping. Jump. But, it's important to think, like, people talk about change all the time, right? They talk about how, oh man, from here on, I'm never going to do that thing that was bad again. I'm never going to do that thing again that, oh, I hurt somebody. I said something mean while I was drunk, or I did something I shouldn't have done, or blah blah blah. I'm never gonna do this XYZ again. And then, how often do people actually hold up to that? That's another thing. You got to figure out what you actually want to be. Don't make statements that you think will impress other people. Don't worry about them. Think about, what do you want? What do you really want? Where do you really want to be? Where do you want to go with whatever you're trying to improve? If, for instance, you take an art class and everybody starts drawing really realistic, and you're like, I'm going to start drawing really realistic just like the rest of them, but that's not even what you're interested in. You like cartoons? You want to draw cartoons? Then it's like, well, think about what you're doing. Another thing is, oh man, you did something wrong and you accidentally hurt somebody. Well, you need to find it in it to forgive yourself, first off, but you also need to try and, earn the other person's forgiveness. And that's two parts of that. But the thing is, you can understand that you are a flawed being. You are not fully in touch with your Brahmin side, with your Kali side. And that little things and little problems will come up, man. And it ain't the end of the world when they do. It ain't the end of everything when you do one thing that you're, not proud of. Oh, hey, you were possessed by Morgan, and now you're possessed by death. Thank you. Do 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 do. And that's kind of the thing here, is that all these are little important considerations. But something that's very important, I think, is figuring out, what do you want? What do you really want? Not what do you think is good, not what do you think you should want, but what is something that actually gets you going? What's something that, like you can say forever that you want to lose a bunch of weight, but if you're not actually that motivated to do it, it's probably not going to happen. And if you're only losing weight because someone else is forcing you to, then hey, you might actually lose the weight, but then what's going to happen if you didn't change any of your behavior, and if you're not willing to put the time and the effort in? Because that's another thing about change, is that people don't seem to realize you only have 24 hours in a day. Right? Like, period. You're already spending those hours in one way or another. Sometimes you're spending them in ways that we might consider wise. In other times you might be spending them in ways that we would consider, not wise or foolish or even harmful, blah, 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 blah. Depends what exactly you're doing, right? Well, what you gotta be willing to do is realize that if you really want to change, and if you really want to do something new and different, there's going to have to be a sacrifice. Something in the way of something that you're doing right now that is taking up your time, and your time in a day, your time in a week, your time in a month. Something's going to have to change if you want to have a new behavior or a major change in your life. Okay? Simple. But the thing is, people don't seem to take that into consideration. And it's like, okay, that's another thing. If you're lazy, we'll say lazy. I don't really think too many people are truly lazy. I think most people just don't have a lot of motivation to do things that they don't want to do. But let's just say lazy, because that's. And let's say that there's a skill you want to improve. Let's say you want to improve your yoga skill for whatever reason. Okay? If you do not take some of your time that you were maybe just kind of hanging out and just being and existing and maybe enjoying yourself, eating junk food, or, just hanging out, whatever you were doing. If you don't take some of that time and instead change it and put it into, like, doing... Oh gosh, dang it. And instead, put it into something like doing yoga, well, Simply put, you're probably not going to do yoga. You're probably not going to improve at your yoga. You have to sacrifice some of your time in some areas. And you also have to realize that some things are just essentials. Like sleep is essential. We Modern capitalist society likes to make it sound like it's not as essential and you can get less sleep so that you can be more productive, etc. But understand that is only because capitalism looks at you as a means to an end, which is just kind of a whole nightmare situation, really. But you gotta understand that, like, you need sleep. You need sleep. You need to eat. You need you need to also have time to enjoy yourself. Not everything needs to be productive, etc., etc. And there's all these little things. And you also got to realize that that grind set stuff, if that's the reason you're doing, that's the reason you're trying to change, it's probably not really going to work very well. Like, what are the things I see frequently, which I think is rather sad in terms of like what motivates a lot of especially young people, is this idea that they need to be on that grind set and they need to be productive and things like that. It's like, no, that's not teaching you to value yourself. That's teaching you that you are basically just a producer, and that if you cannot produce, if you cannot, satisfy the market in a certain way, then you're worthless and blah, 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 blah. And guess what? Then you're going to satisfy the market and you're still going to feel like crap. So maybe don't do that. Just a thought. Just a. Hey, don't shoot cross. Ow, sir, sir, and sir. But like there is so much out there to also learn and do, that you should also understand that you're always going to be limited, and you're not going to learn everything. You can try, and like for instance with me in spiritual topics or stuff like Warhammer, the stuff I just really really like, but there's all kinds of other stuff that I don't know, and like I'm not gonna pretend that I'm gonna learn physics in my spare time just because I don't have the desire to do that, and B, that's like a time that would take away from something I actually care about learning. So a lot of it is figuring out your priorities, and if you're spiritual and your priority is God, then a lot of it can be boiling down to just figure out, at least depending on the view you take, figure out the ways that you can do certain things that you still like to do and dedicate them to God. Figure out if there's things you do that you think are preventing you from getting closer to God. Figure out what you're doing and why. Like I personally think that's like the first step on the road to change in any sense. Figure out why you're doing what you're doing. Figure out what you actually want to do. And I keep wanting to emphasize they actually want to do, because there is so much in the world that is people just doing things because they think that's what they're supposed to do. And then when it doesn't satisfy them, they don't have any other recourse but doing what they think they're supposed to do in that situation. It's like a constant weird cycle of nonsense. But don't do that. What you should do is, like I said, try to figure out what you want to do, why you want to do it, figure out what matters to you, and explore that. Let's see. There's a bunch of revelers here, but they're all kind of evil. So we're just going to do that, and then we're going to do that, and then we're going to do that. It's kind of interesting that you have to kill them, like, basically within... Oops. Ouch. Basically within sight of each other, or they just don't really react. Alright. Once again, this is why having good armor is so important. At least these are pretty. And if they weren't, like, skinning people and taking their bones and stuff, it would be nice to visit here. But, it's okay. We'll just end these creatures. But yeah. That's what I want. That's what I wanted to say. And I hope... I hope that you guys can understand why it's worth trying to pursue and change. And also understand that Cat wants the best for you. And I pray to God that you all get what you want that would make you happy in life. Okay? And remember, hugs and love and kisses and hugs and kiss, love, hug. Hug, 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 hug. Love you, bye. Bye, bye, bye. Love you, bye, bye. Love you, bye. God loves you, bye.